Good morning, Eco TV viewers. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the country, in the world, and elsewhere. My name is Larry Sise. I'm here with my colleague Lamin Mane. We are back on our usual Thursday program. Last Thursday was not possible because of the Eid and related issues. Today we have a house full of issues, but there are issues that have already been in the social media landscape. They've been exhaustively discussed elsewhere, but we are going to comment on them by way of saying this is what UDP's views are on these issues. The very first issue is the ongoing supplementary voters registration and the role of the Governor Sefolu Alkalolu in terms of the Electoral Act and the laws of the Gambia. The second one is President Barrow's comments on the Usainu Bojang case, where he basically said he felt, he suspected, I think those were his exact words, he suspected that Usainu was guilty. And he also indicated that Usainu Dabo, the UDP party leader and flag bearer, his hands are not clean. We just want to address that very briefly. In relation to that is the press conference of the Minister of Justice on the rearrest of Usainu Bojang, and then the NAWEC press conference earlier this week on this load shedding that we are all facing in the country. It's not just in the rural areas, in the urban areas, it's also in the rural areas. So Lamin, these are the issues. If we are brief, we can do 10 minutes each, or less, and we will be able to exhaustively discuss the ongoing supplementary voters registration, which we will do first in Mandinka, then in Wolof, and then subsequently in English.
Once again, thank you for welcoming us into your homes. It's always a pleasure to discuss with you the Gambia that we want. So, Larry, we start when you want to.
Good.
Yeah.
Lamin, as you know, the supplementary voters registration started yesterday. It started with a bang. People were everywhere calling, telling us flagging some of the things that are happening on the ground. We just want to highlight a few things on the supplementary voters registration.
Yeah.
One of the things is that the role of the governors, regional governors, because there was a report in the CRR note where the governor took the alcalde's stamp because he refused to provide stamp the attestation forms. And there are several cases like that. Katong also was in the social media where the alcalde was giving out attestations, allegedly giving out attestations at the insistence of the Kombo South chief. My fellow Gambians, what we want to impress on our governors, Sefolu Alkalolu, is that this is a very serious legal issue because it is hinged on who becomes President of the Republic on the 6th of December. We cannot have Governors Sefolo and Alkalolu usurping their roles because they favor one party against another. Yes, Barrow has given you $84 million as quote-unquote your salaries and allowances. But we know he is buying you. We also, this is a small country. You see, what happened in CRR North, probably the governor thought we wouldn't know, but it was all over social media. What happened in Khartoum, on the other side of the country, was also on social media. Gambians are vigilant and they want to prove to politicians that their voices must be heard and nobody should usurp those voices. I think I will stop there, Lamin, and let you do the rest because you are the focal point on this election integrity team.
Thank you very much, Larry. And what you said is extremely important because the governors, and particularly the Sefos and Alkalolu, are violating, they are infringing on the law. You do not have the right, and I repeat, you do not have the right to give attestations. Attestations come from the IEC. All you do is countersign when you know that, and you have to be certain that that person you're signing for is a Gambian and is of voting age. We have come across a number of cases where alcalos are giving attestations to non-Gambians and giving it to people who are underage. That is a violation of the laws of the Gambia, and you are opening yourself to legal action. You are violating the laws of the land. The law allows you to give attestations only to Gambians who are 18 and above. If you give the attestations to anybody under 18 and anybody who is not Gambian, you are liable. The Alkalo in Gunjur, Kartong, the polling station, as you said, they didn't think we would know about it. The gentleman, the Alkalo gave the attestation to a lady. We have the name, I wouldn't give the name for the moment. The lady went there, they gave her an attestation. They got it from IEC. In fact, I don't know how IEC gave her the attestation, because IEC should also vet before they give the attestation. IEC gave her an attestation. She went to the Alkalo. The Alkalo refused to sign because she knew that lady and knew that she is not Gambian. And the Sefo of Combo South called the Alkalo and asked him to sign that attestation. He has absolutely no right to do that. It's the Alkalo who is signing, whose responsibility is on the line. So he is the one who should assess the situation and determine whether that lady is entitled to attestation or not. And the Sefo told them, told the Alkalo that we have instructions from above to give attestations. No, the law is above you and President Barrow and everybody else who might be involved. So you cannot give attestations to people who are not Gambians and who are underage. We heard Barrow telling you that you're going to campaign for him, which is illegal. But tomorrow, when you start answering for those infringements of the law, Barrow will not be there to defend you. Barrow probably have other fish to fry. So you better be careful. So that lady came to the polling station, so the registration center, and she admitted in front of IEC and everybody there that she is not Gambian. Yeah. But she was still giving IEC should never have given that lady a voter's card when she admitted that she is not Gambian. Never mind she comes with an attestation. Once she admits that she is not Gambian, that attestation should have been withdrawn forthwith, and probably even legal action instituted against her for identity theft and attempts to acquire the Gambian nationality by fraudulent means. That is a legal case against her. It's like that person would be liable. for prosecution, because that's obtaining Gambian nationality by false pretenses. It's a legal case against that person, whoever is guilty of that. So you better watch out. And the alcalos and CFOs, your liability will be on the line too. Thank you.
Okay, let's do this in Mandinka and Wolof, and then we can deal with the rest of the issues. Assalamu alaikum, bading Mandinkol, mbal konton nal ton nal konton la. Gamera saying sunkaro bantal, the usual culprits konko tela koteke. Nte to fola jang. Badingolul. Well, nte tol fole, family tol. Lafta diamulali kudantan la nyim voters supplementary voters registration quota. Lafta mem folale wala munyinti ko loi la karola. Governor, CFO, alkalo, imanyanne dakela nyim voters registration quota na manke ko alkalo men nyanta attestation o dila molla. Bari wa attestation o fana ning alkalo kaba dila molla. Anyanta dila molla la menu botala banko kan, menu botala satewt. Amanyana attestation o dila momo la memman boala satewt. Amanyana attestation o dila momo la memman ke banku dinguti. Yes, baroye million tansaini nani di alkalol nin sefol lale. Akalla alawansol. Ayal sanne. Baral sa lonko nale attestation o di molla. Ale mol register men manke banku dingulti. Revising code bijele. Nyinam bita revising code le. Benyin cases be tabulate kanne. Ninyin registration o bantam bita revising code. Ando ni tata revising code. Barote tarla je. Ke bondi dimba kono. Because ye fan itele tawte ye fan dundi ku kono men ya lonka manke luati. Al kana song Gambia men ya lonko manke Gambia dimulti wolien na president tombonye. Ni muku fearim baleti. Masakunda men tilinta wa fama nyana fola al kalol ni se fole al mol al registra di mol la menu manke banku dimulti. Al kana song wotola. Governor fanan imanyan ne da dunna politiko kono meta nyim folale ka foko governor mu civil servants leti general orders le mula lualti imanyan ne da kala election o kono imanyan ne da kala politiko kono bari na nyim banko kan kabriya la wato governor ke mu politician o leti governor keta propaganda multi mansa kundai anama baro ya samba level auto me alonko asi million tansaini nandi sefol ni alkalol la aning almamol pour ye campaigno kay anda lota fananga ko lafta la le campaigno kenye ni memman campaigno kenye membe kelele bajela ayo fol in an open meeting aka lafta ale alkalol ni sefol ni governor ye campaigno kay Nyimbanko tinyatal de. Itata banku wo banku to. Ika mol mene alonke manke banku dinguti ka kaito di la purka carte of fay. Andali alonko olbe carte of fay le tolle. Banku tinyaman tambi wal. Lua tinyaman tambi wal. Na reported cases soto. Do CRR North. Iko governor e alkalo do la stampo taje. Because we alkalo manson attestation o di la modol. Katom fanan, the same thing ketaje. Muso nata aning attestation o. IC leo attestation o di wo muso. Anata pura register voters card soto. Sefo alkalo kata di lala. Sefo e alkalo kumandi. Iko sefo e alkalo kumandi. Akai attestation o di musunyo. Musundingu lota mobe nyala IC nyala kamanke Gambia note hanwo ye voters card dial IC manyan na okela IC manyan attestation letter dila nyinna sako na lota kene bato akamanke banku dinguti manyan na carte keso dila bari carte keso diala wala nan nte kata fula mole ko mama kande memfo soma ako politician ol man tara nyim banko malaka ako IEC ning police ol lebe nyim banko malaka ikanyim menkiten amanke siloti andu nim banko de ngul man som mune man fitno nati molla banko kamba election o futata woto bang mome ya lonko ite ya lon kati nyim manke banko de nguti ko fo e carte o fay bari nga faalen ne meta falalen ne sanji saba sanji nani sain ko barobe ni election o win la signa sabalel nya folo ka election o nyin sam anda yo kele ay million tan sain in nandi nte bu kat nyim folal dron hani kabri election o na bantan surtout la fala ata soto la ha fulanjango ka sang fulanjango ka sunya wala muka karteo di molla men ya lonko e manyan na karteo soto la pour ya karteo fay sabanjango karteo e fay ye karteo labaj manyan na son na mansakunda nyin ku saboke mansakunda la juti mu menti ka free fair transparent election di molla election o me ya lonko a free tale a fair tale andunga tilintale ni waketa ni baro gagneta mol ba fulale wi baro bari damanta wo manke mol ta fula wi baro de ni election o ni nang ate easy la because ilafta menkela molte sonna now natra ko mosi la moyno IEC alkana attestation di mola mem manke banku dinguti IEC problem wala bal bulde problem ba kata tolle ka attestation formo di mola ali attestation formo di momola wanyanta kala bonafide Gambian neta nyanta kala Gambia dingulti luala karo momo yalon ka manke Gambia dinguti almanya na attestation o dilal arnalia diala is a violation of the law and alialon ne ko is a violation of the law ay loi tiñal nsi même fo no kanyum kumo dante wala mu ñinan nga case wo case soto mbita revising court andu nintata revising court ate easy la de katu 2021 menketan 2026 nte sonna wala benna evidence soto la le ngata revising court nte mbatu la ngata supreme court because ngalon ne wolbe menkel bari mbita revising court le revising court fanan amman garanti ko nintata mba willa bari kata kaitan di molla ko nyine keta wo kanyanta now ni revising code ba kala nyama fen tata je mem manke banku dinguti manyan nawo alaw lay carte o fay lamin
laria baraka andu nyina revising code mbaga nyela kadun ka evidence min da sign ka min prepare ga set di jarol min prepare nyina nintata revising code fere teje ibe toñadi lan nag katon na molun ka seede jaro la kunu na nga commencé luwolu momo mes registre la nka be sotol min folo registre min labanta registre min registre wal tema bebe mbul mba be seede jaro ta kan ke lan election o banta luwolu wo somo to stano revising code le fo
yeah
andum nyina mi ta revising code mota kur yakale jina yakana katun kunta ya kanyantale tulu nyoro da tabanta bale to nyinam mota tulu namola andum momo yamira ko si wulli min diate yake isalo ko bentar la jere mbele be loi nomala wala mota nomala andum mi banko na fawle be loi noma andum mon ko loi tanyale bentar la jere kunum benu miti wala na biro to manjaye yon kumande ko nyego sidi njaay felente nganata bundung cemetery ani lamin cham ani modol lat pour kana mol registre ji ko ala fo mbinana wultan tate non ning alaji esdabo Suleiman Saho bine marong zena mo jamal mo tansiren tate no maji nim sala ngate borte tata ñinan ate kelañin banko kan siri njaaman sembe o sembe kata mol sama kate registre mu ay sila do ko wolete
amanya na tarla je fa
asitambino je la ka fo kan na hal jubal nga konta be nyaade ay sam suba manya nak sila je c'est ko mo samana pour kana register amma sem so ndum te sonna aya kanyim banko kan ngata moy dawdan sita noma sidi nyaay lu wat nyamoy dawdan sidi nyaay bi je bari ni na ben tar la janne ye ko kon ke ben tar la janne kunta ya bantara nyim banko kan sai isi wolong ay koyima mil fan yak fanna dolto biri jam ko mandi ya fanyin ay si ko mandi so follow ay si nak sa fo follow jarama katu ku kurya de dara bi ko mandi nga foye ika dafa ko man ke sida nga foye ika fika simfata je anda nyanda ke dawla katu mo le do ko wote son dumbe continue lo nya fanyin election yi bank fu 21 mai mbi janne lu wollon ko ko ngata dawda be tar la je anata mo to malanga ta fu janne mba sembitale anduna molbe siri ni oto fana milbe do ko la je so kunta ya bantala ni nan dum momo je carte soto silala mi manke siloti wala attestation di mo mi manke silati ya sanite alkalo te sefo ni bita katu ye banko lu walati ya banko ko banko ni ya di mo mi manke banko di te banko la lu walati nya anduni banko lu walati be kitindila way kunta ya kayanta mo taman ke yim banko di mo manyin ki banko keta mbele ganyin keta mo tantem mbele den tanyin so mo ko lu watanyal parce que fa aran baro le fasal wallahi bentar la jere so way koy mo be ma kunta ya bantal say yalla wato man siya mbedan nawal to folo
kum fa den isi sa fo suru account UDP dingo be dawoda ni be lamoy kanna ni manke executive members dam man na do ko de
yes
UDP dingul bele la do ko mu nyenti albe dawoda nyim banko kan ni ko be mo register la me a lonka manke banko dinguti alkana son ma fo mo e luatinya bernal manson alo mari la detailol taban
exactly
nin tata revising code nso mari ma me attestation o dialan sa ma nin momo dibe man sakunda ni dabe o attestation o dioto nsima
yes
lu ala karol
o be ko momo nata yi ala yala ko sutaro bala ko to ala mir ni man sanyita nin se yosoto wala ni manke banku dingoti bara nin ka jonata ala to safi andu alla nyan tolemu pour mi be sire ay siege ay o mari to diala anala details be asala card number diala aya to diala fo be diala pour aller prepare pour gata revising code so momon nata je andu wat oli amer ko nyinde ni manyana sotola ama sonka si man kele si ala to safi anala details be aliye safi aliye dinna mbe be sama revising code be cancel be burukala
because lu ala karola ay si nyanta o information o dilal nali akan
no fo len dun ay si commentaire do ngaw kunjur ka to men fono do be non sirinje kunu o fananta to fala bi baw suka sutura folo bat na ke kote ke mba to fala mbe sirin ay siege na moli kay ko wo musomi na mi manke banku dun mi fonction de banku dingodi e kay ya to di la manson ay ici commande ka foye alhamdulillah wolo la kilo riya commande ka ko ñu las ñan tole ñu ñinti il afta minna adila so ma fa ay ici wala la baraka ale loi fasaji so yew kaytol di wala so momon nata ji alman la ko ñu ñanta so roba la cour ala to safi alita ay ici ñaton ko bije akana min nata yal kana anu kana dia mu fa but ay ici mbe sire nga jara fa lafta kari tol ni mari kayto ke faye bandi aya ko di jani fulan jambina mo do bina alta ay sire njato ko la fa lafta kari la details iba dila la katu luale o sembo dial su mari to dial ala number and everything ya be dial yalla dial aspenyal yalla ni samba revising code
ning IC la membe siring IC je naman som ala fangola detail olta
ala fangola detail nyindo yanku mandi ya to fo nyana kon to be
ala fangola detail olta
IC ko ko alla kare be siring jur kato
ali ay tandi ko nyina man sonna nyin information o dilan so nin tata revising code be menkelate fana na objet
janno te mo fam biri ya foni nga IC ko mandi ko alla kare be siring alla kare wur kan kare ko ndabe siring aliye kunjur katon aye banne ka modola to na la details na mola bunjur ka tonje ko nyota kiyano lan ko yes wona ngal ko ka loi ban so wala o lot la kilonte commandiro ke je ka faye ko ñu lañanto lañante a dila andun dawda nga problème sudi je follow ni ay si commandi e ka tamande nyamal alhamdulillah kala ma continue law ñaan kato loi le be lola ok ntol ko ay sire min tambe sa nga ñina wala nga ñaato bayindi wa ñaato bayindi wala ka loi noma kan dal man no bula fanal noma so man sula wala be nga loi noma dron nga ta ñama
ka loi noma nin ka kol ka ñama
ha nin ka nak fana ye loi noma bari en na ñanto kanta ha na ñanto dem be fanan kanta la be loi bu ñala de bari na ñanto mo do fanan tiñala yes
okay nga masruwa kan to time
yes mbokay liñ leen bu waxtaanal tey mooy affaire yi bindu bi nekk di xew léegi nii pour am voters card xam nga ñu ngi def supplementary voter registration maanaam ñoo xam ne 2021 amuñu woon carte parce que amuñu woon fukk ak juróom-ñetti at wala nekkuñ fii wala ñoom utuñu carte waxtu jooju noonu lu waa mee na leen pour ñu dem uti carte bi yoon voters card soo ñu ko def ci réew mi yëpp léegi ak koo xam ne yaa am nga carte waaye sa carte bi dafa réer wala dafa yaaxu wala dafa scratch dem sax duñ la mën a xàmmeeti lu waa mee na la nga dellu ñu joxal la beneen carte te doo ci fay dërëm bi yoon free la koo xam ne tam yaa ngi dikk ci benn gox nga bugg a fekk toxu nga beneen gox mun ngaa dem ñu jox la beneen carte ak bugg da ngaa dem ci IEC office bi dañ la joxee benn carte pour nga mun a am sa carte ñu dem sànni carte koo xam ne moom yow amuloo ko parce que amuloo woon fukk ak juróom-ñetti at wala nekkuloo fi woon wala am na loo xam ne tere na la koo am at yi passé nii bu fekkee da nga am gàllankoor bu la ko teree am boo demee dañu jox carte bu ees waaye nag ay si dañ lay laaj yu set ba xam lu tax yow amuloo ko woon ku xam ndax boo xam ne da nga koy yelloo la wala koo jógee bitim réew la ñëw di jéem a sàcc suñu identity ay si dañ la laaj ba mu set bu ñu la joxee attestation booba nga dem ci alkaali bi wala chef bi ñu signal la ko nga ñëw ut carte te loolu nag chef boo xam ne wala alkaali boo xam ne yow óor na le diw sàngam du doomi réew mi wala diw sàngam amul fukki at ak juróom-ñett nga nangu signal ko carte da nga jalgati luwaayu réew mi te boo jalgatee luwaayu réew mi li la cee fekk mooy nga dem court loi bi ñu teg la loi te bii yoon duñ bàyyi kenn mu jàll ci loolu dara du wéy loo xam ne dafa yàq suñu loi bi dañ la topp ku ko yàq itam dinañ la topp yaa xam nga yow voter nga yaa xam ne chef nga yaa xam ne alkaali nga wala ay si ku mun a doon rek ku salfaañi suñu loi yi dinañ la yóbbu ay si dinañ la yóbbu revising court li la cee fekk loolu yaa ko xam yaa ko teg sa bopp soo na ku nekk màndu ci lii koo xam ne yelloowul suñu voters card bu ko kenn utal kenn ku ko yelloowu duñ ko ko jox bu waruñ ko koo jox ku ko jox yaaxa nga luwaa bi jalgati nga suñu luwaa yi réew mi te li la cee fekk war a fekk foofu mu fekk la fa nag so fi mu nekk koo xam ne dem nga ci registration centre yi fi ñëw bindoo te doo doomi réew mi te amuloo fukki at ak juróom-ñett boo fekkee ne doomi réew mi nga boo buggee ut carte am na ñu fa toogal political party si ñëpp kuréel yi fi nekk pour kuréel politique yi fi nekk ku nekk am na ku la fa toogal xanaa soo bëggul de waaye loi mee na ku nekk nga yónni fa ñaari nit te ñun yónni nañ ñaari nit fu nekk ci ñaari nit yónni nag kenn mooy toog ci taabul bi keneen ki toog ci gannaaw di xaar ki fa toog bu fekkee ne am soxla mu oo mu ne kaay xaar ma fi mu dem nga xam ne saa su nekk am na fa am ku ñu fa toogal soo ñooñu nag buñ gisee ne yow nga diw sàngam nga ut carte te wóolu nañ foog njort nañ ne yow doo doomi réew mi wala amoo fukki at ak juróom-ñett loi may na leen pour ñu laaj ki fa toogal IEC ne ko diw sàngam jox ñu turam santaam ak atam yëpp loo soxla ci moom nañ la ko jox ak nomba kaadam ñu jox la ko suñ ko joxe suñu nit ñi ñoom dañ ko préparé yeyoo nañu ko ñun fan fu nekk moom door nañ di préparer suñu revising court koo xam ne sa affaire daal njort nañ ne yelloowuloo carte wooters card suñu réew mi nañ la yóbbu revising code bii yoon revising code dina liggéey boo xam ne du xam fan la toll sa parce que dara du wéy soo ku nekk ne koo xam ne yaa ngi ci réew mi bu fekkee ne yelloo la suñ carte ngelawaay bàyyee ñu ko te nga sàmm sa bopp nga xam ne dara du la ci fekk ëllëg parce que boo ci duggee loo ci jëlee yaa ko utal sa bopp parce que ñu duñ bàyyi dara muy wéy bii yoon soo amoon nañ kees yoo xam ne amoon nañ ko démb ñu ngi woon suñ office bi di def benn meeting ñu oo ñu ne Sidi Ndiaye ak Lamine Thiam ak ñeneen ñoo xam ne ñoo ànd ak ñoom dem nañ Bundung Cemetery polling station bi fa nekk register station bi fa nekk yóbbu ay nit pour register leen suñ gars yi oo ñu wax lañu ko ñu ne ko wàlle la ñu ngee ñëw parce que amuñ benn droit amuñ benn right pour dafa yóbbu nit ñi pour ñu leen register mun ngaa jël dugal ko moto bi parce que moom amul moto pour yóbbu ko waas danga ko yóbbu nga bàyyi ko moom demal boppam yow amuloo benn right pour dem ci registration agency dana ngaa dimbali ko pour mu register te Sidi Ndiaye fi ñoo yaaxeel waa rek léegi-léegi ñu dégg fu affaire am te fu mu dem bi yoon nañ ko fa fekk parce que du yàqa suñu loi bi du jalgati suñu loi ñu toog di ko seetaan amu fi ëppaloo fi kenn raay bi mu am la ñëpp am dafa toppal loi comme ñëpp wala ñu teg ko ci loi bu ñu ko waxee nag ñu jël suñu moto yi dem Bundung fekki ko fa balaa ñu egg a fekk mu dem Sidi Ndiaye na nga xam ne doomi réew nga comme ñëpp loi bi ci kaw la féetoo soo doo fi laa yaaxal loi loolu def ci réew mi dañ ko xam parce que foo dem da suñu gars dañu ko wax te foo dem nañ la fa fekk te mu doon Serigne Ndiaye bu dul Serigne Ndiaye fa comme keneen ku mu mën a doon Adama Barrow sax su demee di ko def nañ ko fa fekki parce que ren kenn du laa jaaxal loi ci réew mi ñu si toog la seetaan loolu da óor ñëpp ñun dañoo sàmm loi dañoo toppal loi waaye lu ñu yeeloon nag tam kenn duñu ko aaye kenn du salfaañi suñu right ci réew mi ñu toog la seetaan so election results yi ñëpp a cee bokk ñëpp a koo sàmm ñëpp war a def li nga xam ne loolu moo war ñu mun a dem ci élection su baax yu set te Adama loolu la ragal nag xam na ne élection bu set bu jaar yoon du ko fa mun a gañee soo ñu ngi nekk ci door sàcc xam nga déggoon nañ 2021 Ibrahima si la taxaw ñun lañ def xam nañ ko li nekk suñ loxo xam nañ ko su élection si jeexee nit ñi xam ne ñun dañu wucc seen loxo nii lii naka la mën a xew
liñ ko gañee sax gars yi dinañ waaru
waaw loolu 2021 la nag 2026 du fi amati so loolu leen mën a loolu leen pare rek pare nañ ko loolu leen ci nar nañ lu ko ëppa soo li gën ci pour ñëpp mooy ngeen toppal waa ñun ñëpp ci toppal waa ñu def li war foo leen dugal dañ leen fa fekk loolu leen ci nar nañ lu ko ëppa soo koo xam ne dafa yaaxal luwaa bi li ñu fekk sa yoon te dinañ bind koo xam ne jox nañ la carte yelloo la carte nañ ko bind yóbbu yëpp revising code kenn du rëcca soo li ñoo wax mooy jaami réew bi mooy ñëpp sàmm luwaa ñëpp def li war ci réew mi bu kenn salfaañi luwaayi réew mi mooy li gën ci ñëpp waaye doo toog fi ne foog ne yaa ngi bokk ci government bi parce que baroo ne yéen bu leen ragal yàlla xam na ne ñu tam ragalul boo leen ragalut ñu tam ragalul waaye li gën ci yéen li gën ci ñun li gën ci réew mi mooy ñëpp sàmm luwaa bi ay si de ba tey démba moom di xool dee démba fu gars yi toogee di jéem a salfaañi luwaay suñ ko déggee ñu oo leen def nañ ci li leen war te ñu ngi leen a gërëm di sant ci loolu parce que loolu lañ sentu ci ñoom referee lañ war ñoo far fenn te liñ defagum alhamdulilah ñu ci sant yàlla di leen ci gërëm di leen wax ne continuer leen loolu parce que doomi réew mi ngeen ñëpp ngeen da liggéeyal toppaleen loi ñëpp toppal loi élection su demee nem gém demee waree dem moo gën ci réew mi ñu def ko ci jàmm ak salaam génn ci jàmm ak salaam dugg ci bismillahi rahmaani rahim génn ci alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin te mun nañ koo def parce que réew mi ñëpp a ko bëgg a ñëpp a naw Gambia bi te loolu li ko mën a sàmm nag mooy ku nekk sàmm luwaa bi ku nekk sàmm sa yelleef dinañ sàmm luwaa bi war dañ sàmm suñu yelleef kenn du salfaañi suñu yelleef ak suñu ak ak yelleef ci réew mi soo dañ dimbalante nga xam ne luwaa bi mën a taxaw nekk loo xam ne ñëpp a koy sàmm ñëpp a koy topp réew mën a jëm kanam soo suñ gaay ñu ngi fu nekk registre centre fu nekk am nañ fa ñu fa toogal
te fuñ dem gis ne kii du doomi réew mi wala kii agut
fukki at ak juróom-ñett
buñ nangu mu kii su fekkee ne am ngeen query na leen ay gaay ay si jox seen particular yi ngeen jël pour revising code bi ki ko jox karta gi ki ko jox attestation bi ki ko jox birth certificate bi alkaali bi su fekkee ne chef bi su fekkee ne dañ fa bokka ñëpp la ñoo yóbbu revising code Lamin may ma tuuti rek ma wax ak suma mbokki ñaami ne
waaye balaa nga def dama war a gërëm li nga wax affaire birth certificate
yes
parce que boobu fàtte woon naa ko birth certificate ci la bokk du attestation rek de birth certificate yu ngi joxe lu bëri yëpp nañ ko toppa loolu laa bëgg a yokkaay bu continuer
suma mbokki ñaami ne man la resise la li ma leen bugg a xamal rek mooy ne election bi dafa important so much so that bu leen nangu alkaali yi chef yi gouverneur yi ak yeneen fonctionnaire government bi ñu def loo leen loo xam ne dina leen lor ci revising code xam nañ ne ñu bari ñu ngi leen a indi ci biir dëkk bi di leen register waaye di try di pour register leen am na ñoo xam ne nekkuñ waa dëkk bi gis nañ benn case kaatong démba xam nañ ne itam ñu ngi try pour register xale yu ndaw yoo xam ne amuñ fukk ak juróom-ñetti at bu leen nangu ñu dugal leen seen doom yi ñu loor leen ñu dem revising code jàppaleen dimbaleen nit ki pour mu am doole jaru ko xam nañ ne Barrow mu ngi try pour jënda élection bi naka la nekkee di try pour jënda élection bi dafa jox chef yi alkaali yi ilimaan yi allowance ak salary $84 million xaw ma 84 million ñaata la ci olof waaye
juróom-ñetti fukki
million ak ñeneent la leen jox xam nga loolu jënda nit la moo taxaw itam mu ne dinañ ko campagnal gouverneur yi ministre yi gouverneur yi chef yi alkaali yi ilimaan yi yëpp nañ ko campagnal ñooñu ñooy campagne teamam bi wax na loolu ci kanam yi ñëpp liñ leen bugg a wax nag mooy li xewoon 2021 du xew 2026 dañ am système boo xam ne koo xam ne jox nañ la voters card boo xam ne ñun feesut suñ bot dinañ jël detail si loi bi allow na pour ñu jël detail si dinañ jël detail si dinañ dem revising code suñ demee revising code li loi bi wax moom mooy am li loi bi wax mooy kan moo la jox yow si sa boppa dinañ la lifin kan moo la jox attestation bi ban alkaali moo ko tampe ban chef moo ko tampe wala ban gouverneur moo ci bokk yooyu yëpp dinañ ko am ci suñ record si te suñ gaay yi nekk ci registration centre yi yëpp train nañ leen xam nañ ne lii lañ war a def ñun itam dinañ toog di jël téléphone call yi suñ koolee ñu kool IEC waaye li gën a or lii yëpp bu leen nangu ñu yóbbu seen doom yi nga xam ne amuñ fukki at ak juróom-ñetti bu leen nangu dañ leen a lor su revising code amee ñii duñ fa nekka pour defend leen ñoom liñ bugga rek ngeen jox leen doole ñu continuer di pisir pasar alali réew bi
di ñu noot di ñu sàcc
yes so bu leen nangu loolu man Ñaamina su IEC jógee Sooma rek man dinaa dem Ñaamina dinaa bees Kudang dinaa seet naka laay def pour cover registration centers yëpp.
Exactly.
waaye buñ nangu ñii jël labaj suñ élection noonu waruta yomba dafa war a naxari dañ ko war a liggéey ba pare suñ paree ñun dinañ dem revising code this year revising code dina liggéey de.
dina liggéey ren.
because ñun système yiñ def foofu noonu kenn du sàcca élection bi loolu yàgg nañ di leen ko wax kenn du sàcca élection bi IEC itam am nañ problème am nañ opportunity xam nga problème bu nekk am na opportunity pour nga adresse ko IEC am nañ opportunity pour def li loi bi wax pour def li nit ñi bugga lan mooy loolu bul jox karta kenn koo xam ne nekkul doomi réew mi bul jox karta kenn koo xam ne danga ko jox karta rek pour nga dimbale nguur gi toog IEC waruñoo def loolu te gowma ne IEC dinañ ko def man loolu laa leen bugga aidal rek pour ne ñun ñëpp ñu bàyyi suñ xel dëkkandoor dafa xat man bugguma gis suma benn dëkkandoor di dem revising code ba ñu laa def yenn yoo xam ne pour lan pour dimbale koo xam ne soo ko dimbale mu gañe du la faale xam nga suñ élection noonu la Barrow ne sooy ut carte nit ñi dang leen a promise boo xam ne soo winee doo ko def nga dem def lu la ne loolu la nekka di wax ñii loolu soo leen sànnilee karta yéen gis ngeen 2021 bi ngeen sànnilee ñii karta dañ leen fàtte sànni leen fale ñoom ñu ngi enjoy seen boppa yéen a ngi ci torox bi soo leen buggee nag toroxaay bi continuer def leen li ngeen waruta def 2026 itam ngeen jéem parce que jéem la ñun ñu ngi leen a xool ñoom ñëpp ñu seet ndax di ngeen def li loi bi wax ndax duñ def li loi bi wax. Thank you.
jërëjëf Laare te pour gën a digëral loolu rek mooy réew mi bu ñëpp sàmmee loi bi lépp yomba pour ñëpp boo yelloo wut karta bàyyi ko fa bu ko uti alalu jàmbur bala santa boo ko amul bàyyi ko fa nga dem defi leneen yow am nga raag nga toog ci réew mi fii nga liggéey fii daan sa doole am li ngay am loolu suñu loi ñoo la ko may ak Gambien si liñ bugg a gan moo la ko may parce que am ku nekk am na foo jógee boo nekkee gan bugg a nekk Gambien am nañ fooy war a jaar noo war a jaar da ngay naturalize wala nga sëyee Gambien am na loi yoo xam ne fa ngay jaar daal pour am nationalité jaar fa nga am sa nationalité fekk yow fii nga bugg a dëkk fii nga bugg a toog ñun kay dañoo ku ñëw wéetale ci ñun réew kaay nga bokk fi ut carte ut nationalité nga sànni carte waaye boo ko defut torox tànge bu la ci fekk yaa ko utal sa bopp te ñun yéenewuñ ko kenn waaye yéenay seet li gën ci yéen te li gën ci yéen boo bëggee nekk Gambien utal nationalité Gambien ci yoon boo ko defut bàyyi ñu suñ sànni carte léegi nga mën a continuer di dëkk ak ñun fii ci jàmm ak salaam benn torox tànge di la ci fekk. jërëjëf.
Good. Legi, let's do the others. What I wanted to do, Lamin, is to combine the Barrow statement with the Minister of Justice's press conference.
That is,
our listeners, viewers will recall that President Barrow made a statement to the effect that he suspected that Usainu Bojang was guilty of the murder of those two police officers. This is a major statement from a head of state who should be the guardian of respect for the rule of law in his republic, in our republic. For Barrow to make that statement, we think is ill-advised, and the timing cannot be worse.
Ill-advised and irresponsible.
Irresponsible. And the timing cannot be worse than what it is. 2 police officers died. Their families are looking for closure. They cannot get closure. A young man and his sister have been arrested for 2 years.
And a half.
2.5 years.
Yes.
Their lives have been wasted. And a court of law adjudicated that they are not guilty of the offense they were charged. And what did the president say? I suspect they are guilty. I also think that Usainu Dabo, the party leader of UDP, his hands are not clean. He made those statements. You know, when I looked at this thing, I actually cringed. I cringed because it is so unprecedented for a president to comment on a ruling of his own judiciary, denigrate that ruling, and basically ridicule it. You know, and then I started thinking what must be going on in his mind. Because as far as I'm concerned, Lamin, and hear me out on this one, as far as I'm concerned, Barrow has what I would psychologically describe as a UDP Usainu Dabo derangement syndrome. He has what I would describe as a UDP Usainu Dabo derangement syndrome. He cannot leave UDP and Usainu Dabo alone.
Okay.
He tries to bring them into everything that is illicit. He tries to bring them into anything that will soil the reputation of UDP. We all heard when these 2 murders were occurred. The allegation was that it was done by UDP. That has been refuted. The courts have decided. And he's still saying our party leaders' hands are not clean. I don't think the government's hands are clean. And that's why people are asking, who killed the cops? Who killed the cops? Who killed the cops? Let them tell us who killed those cops. What happened to the 3 soldiers that were so-called witnesses to the murder, who ended up going to Turkey for training? What happened to those? Why is this government so bent on maligning UDP's name and associating us with things that UDP abhors as a law-abiding political organization? If anything, Barrow knows UDP more than anybody else because he was one of us. He was a deputy treasurer and then he ended up being a treasurer when our guys were arrested. He knows we respect the rule of law. He knows we are a constitutional institution, an organization that respects and adheres to the Constitution. So why all this effort, concerted effort, to just denigrate all of that? This is what I wanted to say on that one. Let's remember this thing. He is suffering from a UDP, Usainu Dabo, derangement syndrome. Check this out, psychologists out there or social observers, check this out and you will see statement by statement by he is obsessed with UDP, he is obsessed with Usainu Dabo. The Minister of Justice followed this up, I think this week, to say that the rearrest of Usainu Bojang and his sister was illegal, that it wasn't sanctioned by any court of law, and that no court order was given for them to be rearrested. This is a profound statement from a sitting Minister of Justice, because it is his office that actually filed a legal instrument for their rearrest. And it is his office, his ministry, that 24 hours later, because of the public outcry, withdrew that legal document for these innocent young people to be freed. Profound statement from a president, and even more profound statement from his Minister of Justice saying the arrest was illegal and unfortunate. After you mess up somebody's life, you now say, oh, we are sorry. I hope Usainu and his lawyers will take them to court to clean them up. Yep. But then again, this is the same government that has over 1 billion on its books on contingent liabilities, contingent liabilities which are due to the legal cases they are losing. 1 billion. And we are counting. If I was Usenu or his lawyer or his representative, I'll sue them for all the money they have.
Exactly.
Because I have every right to do so. They wasted his life. Nobody knows what he went through in prison, under detention, what his mental frame is after he was released, what kind of psychological impact he suffered when he was rearrested. No government that respects the rule of law and adheres to constitutionalism does what this government has done. No government.
Larry, thank you very much. And what we saw was the most profound violation of the rights of Gambians. As you said, 2 young men were killed in cold blood by somebody who quite evidently is a trained marksman. Somebody who didn't just get up and pick a gun someday and just decide to start shooting. This is somebody who was trained in the use of firearms. You don't just walk up to police officers. Well, you know, I also train and probably have arms. You don't just walk up to them, shoot 2 of them and kill them at point blank range, a shot each, and then shoot a 3rd one and hurt that person, and you still manage to escape. So this definitely was somebody who was trained in the use of firearms. And people should remember, the day it happened, the government spokesman, Ibrahima Sankare, went out and said that these people were probably linked to UDP.
Yep.
And that they had arrested the gentleman who did it, and they found the money on him that was paid to him, they shared it in a mosque, and then he managed to escape and went across the border. Shortly afterwards, the Deputy Inspector General of Police saw, and the National Security Officer, Suleiman Jeng, and a few other people came out, and they held a press conference in which they all again tried to accuse UDP of being involved in this. And so even made a fool of himself trying to explain to us triangulation of telephones, and you evidently know this guy evidently has no idea what this is about.
He had no clue what
There's no
means.
clue. We saw all of that happen in this country here. So even before investigation started, these people accuse UDP of being behind this. The gentleman who shot this and who was alleged to have shot and killed these people was alleged to have been in Yankuba Dabo's security team, and that he was present at the courthouse in Banjul when Yankuba Dabo went to court there, and a whole series of accusations against the UDP. And when they went to court as witnesses, we saw how much what they said before was untrue. But the whole objective was to frame UDP, arrest its senior officials, and ban the party.
Yeah. That was
because that was exactly a few months before in Senegal. It's exactly what Macky Sall did with Pastef. And Macky Sall being Barrow's mentor, they probably were trying to replicate that in the Gambia.
Yeah.
And they accused UDP of this. Under normal circumstances, we should be suing them for defamation. Yeah. But Barrow didn't stop at that. When this gentleman, Ousseynou Bojang, and his sister, after 2.5 years of detention on frivolous and malicious charges, was released from custody because an honorable judge acquitted and discharged them. What did they do? They immediately filed a petition for his rearrest. That in itself is a violation of a court order. Yeah. A court adjudicated on their case after 2.5 years of investigations and trial. You could not prove beyond reasonable doubt that this gentleman and he killed those police officers, and that his sister was an accomplice in his escape and absconding. You could not prove that. And a judge who thoroughly examined this case, because for those who might remember, the defense asked that the case be thrown out for frivolous and malicious prosecution.
Yep.
The judge said, no, I'm going to hear all the case and hear all the evidence and adjudicate. And the adjudication The judge gave a statement of 6 hours before his verdict.
And about 40 pages opinion.
Over 100 pages.
Yes.
So which means that this case was thoroughly examined by the judge, by this honorable judge, and he rendered his verdict. And immediately afterwards, they appealed the case. The Attorney General, who is telling us that the arrest was unfortunate and should not have happened, his ministry oversaw this frivolous and malicious prosecution.
Yeah, it should not have gone.
It should not have happened. When the case was brought to them, they should have known that they have no path to securing a conviction, because the case was totally flawed. Any serious prosecution would have declined to prosecute this case, because you know that you cannot secure a conviction on the basis of that. And the Ministry of Justice, the Director of Public Prosecution and his team have prosecutory discretion, which means that they can decide this case is not strong enough to go to prosecute it. And there are other cases where you have the prosecutory discretion. But they still went to court. Even though they knew that this case was flawed, was frivolous, was malicious, they still went to court. He didn't stop them. He is the Attorney General. How can he turn around today and say that the rearrest is illegal and unfortunate? It's not unfortunate. It's criminal. It's contempt of court. And contempt of court is criminal.
And it's gross incompetence.
I'm not sure it's so much incompetence. I would say is deliberate flouting of the laws and malicious and frivolous. And so I believe the state councils and the rest who are in that office, if they did not succumb to political pressure, they would have seen that this case cannot secure a conviction. They should have told the Director of Public Prosecution. And by the way, the Director of Public Prosecutions has always been a foreigner. Why on earth can't we have a Gambian as Director of Public Prosecutions? Why does it have to be a foreigner? Are the Gambians not good enough, not trustworthy enough, not honest enough to become Director of Public Prosecution? We should get a Gambian as Director of Public Prosecution. That law should be abrogated. So we have a Gambian as Director of Public Prosecution. He would live here amongst us. He's one of us. We have honest, reliable Gambians of integrity who can be a Director of Public Prosecution. That law should go. The Director of Public Prosecution should be a Gambian. Because these guys, you know, we had mercenary judges here under the previous regime. If the Director of Public Prosecution does something wrong, when things go bad, he'll just take his plane and go somewhere. He doesn't live here, he doesn't care, he doesn't have family here. A Gambian Director of Public Prosecution will do the right thing. If we had a Gambian DPP, he probably would have said to them, hey, this case cannot secure conviction, drop it. But we've seen so many cases go to court and they end up with egg all over their face because there's a political interference in the case. Adama Barrow was going around and saying that Usainu Dabo's hand is not clean in this and he probably has something to answer for. He has infringed the separation of powers to comment judicial actions. Yeah. We as ordinary citizens can do so, not him. But who gave him that opinion? Probably the Minister of Justice. Yeah. Because we saw that the Minister of Justice came out and said the same thing. Mm-hmm. Well, they secured a conviction, he was acquitted and discharged, but acquittal and discharge doesn't mean that you are innocent. And then he quickly realized the enormity of what he said. He said, well, I'm not referring to Usainu Bojan's case in general. You as Minister of Justice, Attorney General, sit there and tell us that? You are the ones, the onus of proof was on you. You are the ones who needed to prove that this gentleman committed murder. He killed young Gambian police officers whose families are still grieving. It was on you to prove that he was guilty. You could not prove that. And you kept him in prison for 2.5 years with his sister, who was breastfeeding a baby who was not even 1 year. You kept them in prison for 2.5 years. You could not prove your case. Your case was thrown out for insufficient evidence. And you want to turn around and say he's still guilty? He could still be guilty, and you want to prosecute him again? That is what we call double jeopardy. When you tried for a case and you are acquitted and discharged, you cannot be tried for that case again. If they go to court to appeal, what they can do, they can appeal the case on the points of law. On the points of law, not the case per se. And if they want to appeal Justice Jaite's decision in court for points of law, I wish them luck. This gentleman did his homework. So go find flaws in that judgment, and you won't get a conviction, you won't get that decision overturned. They will tell you it's sub judice. Yes, it's sub judice, but this decision has been taken. It's a new case coming up. They cannot secure a conviction on this case, and they cannot charge him again for this murder because he has been acquitted and discharged. They should know that. And they go around and apply for him to be maintained in custody. The law gives them the right to apply for that. But you apply to the judge, and he turned down your application, and he submitted. He said that the gentleman and his sister can be bailed. They were given bail, and you still arrest them again and take them to mile. By the way, when they took them mile 2, why did the prisons officers accept them without a court order committing them?
Recommitting them.
Yes. Why did they accept that? They too violated the law. So the police infringed on the law. The prison officers did the same thing. The Ministry of Justice didn't do what is required to make sure that this gentleman had and could enjoy the freedom he was denied for 2.5 years. He should be suing them for 2.5 years of hardship, suing them for the defamation, suing them for the frivolous and malicious prosecution, suing them for what we call in law presium doloris, the price of pain. He should sue them for all of those things and many more. Yeah. And as we said, they owe people millions of dollars which they refuse to pay, which again in itself is contempt of court. Yeah. A court order should be implemented, should be executed.
And it drives home the impunity of
exactly. Exactly. So these people go to court, they win their cases, they are awarded damages, and the Ministry of Justice and the government refuse to pay those damages because they just can't do it and get away with it because of the impunity you talk about.
And the damages cumulatively, according to the last budget, stood at $1.2 billion.
Okay. Normally, they should be held in contempt for that. And somebody should go to jail for that. And even the case of Justice Jaite acquitting and discharging Usainu Bojang and his sister, and they rearrest them and commit them to mile 2, that was a case that could be brought against them for contempt of court. Justice Jaite could have had them arrested for contempt of court. So these are all the cases we face in this country.
As we are saying, the impunity is just too much.
It's too much. And you know what worries me about it is that we are having the creeping dictatorship again. Yeah. That the president thinks that he's authorized to stand in there and say that somebody, in fact, some time ago he said if people get arrested and discharged, he can have them rearrested. Yes, he said that some years ago.
He said that in summer.
And now he's doing that.
Yeah.
His government is doing that. Yeah. So if you can do that, it means you are taking the law into your own hands. You are substituting yourself for the judiciary. You are arrogating yourself powers that you do not have. So you have the executive, now you arrogate the powers of the judiciary, and what next? Decide your laws.
You become a dictator.
You decide the laws, and they are doing that already with their parliament.
Yes.
What's left? The press. So you bring in press regulations, you want to muzzle the press as well, so you can become the full dictator. You control all the 4 powers, the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative, and the 4th estate, which is the press. Gambians, sit up and listen to this. That's where this guy is taking us. He's taking us right back into dictatorship. The writing is on the wall.
And in a very quiet way.
Yes, the writing is on the wall. It's up to all of us to sit up and fight and get rid of this government on the 5th of December 2025, or we would live to regret it. this gentleman is heading back to autocracy and dictatorship. And we did say in 2016, never again. And it has to mean something. So
yeah.
I was enraged when I heard this. So here we go again.
I was actually watching the press conference. I was flabbergasted at a Minister of Justice who said the guy is guilty. And then your office issues a legal framework for him to be rearrested. You rearrest him. Public outcry. You say, oh, we made a mistake. We should not have arrested him.
Yeah.
What we have done is illegal. Where is your accountability?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Where is the consequence management that should have been meted out to this Minister of Justice and his team? But then again, we've always maintained, Lamin, that the hallmark of this government are four things: incompetence, indifference, corruption and impunity, and identity politics, tribalism. These are the four that defines this government.
Yeah.
The incompetence, we are seeing that already.
Yeah, yeah.
This Usenu Bojang case is the clearest example of how incompetent this government is.
And how heartless and how much they lack compassion. Because you would have innocent people rot in jail for 2 years, 2.5 years, when the people who committed that murder are evidently out there. Are you going after them?
Yeah,
what are you going to do now to arrest those people? Because we need to have those people brought to justice. The people who killed the cops should be brought to justice. And you know when it happened, that was the first thing Hussein Dabo said. He said, we have lost 2 of our sons who were while in the line of duty. Nobody should comment on this. We should make sure that the law follows its course and the culprits be brought to justice. That's what he said.
And he stuck to it.
And when this gentleman was acquitted again, he said the same thing. He said, we must go and look for the people who killed our sons and who injured our daughter. We must look for them and bring them to book. Because if you don't, the next government will make sure that that happens. Because there has been clear tampering with evidence in this case. There has been clear miscarriage of justice. Well, no miscarriage of justice. I withdraw that because the justice was done properly. Malicious prosecution. In this case, that happened. And they saw that. And nobody was bothered about that.
But that's the statement that triggered Barrow.
Yeah. But
you say about the derangement syndrome kicks in.
I like that one because I used to call him the UDP inferiority complex.
No, it's a derangement syndrome.
Because he has this inferiority complex for UDP and Hussein Dabo. So now he's compounded with derangement syndrome. But you see, what is important also to remember is that this is the gentleman who swore to uphold the constitution and the laws of the country.
Through his oath of office.
Yes, you cannot go around and try to do something so unbecoming of a president, let alone so illegal and illegitimate. Look, when this sort of thing happens, him as president should have been circumspect. He should have had some withdrawal from this case and let other people comment on it, not him. But evidently, that is what his Minister of Justice or his Ministry of Justice advised him. And what he said was exactly the same thing that the Minister of Justice said. And this is extremely wrong. It's not unfortunate, it's wrong. So, for the sake of time, I'll probably just add that the law does authorize them to arrest this gentleman, but another charge, not on this same charge. And they cannot say for national security, we want to have him arrested. What national security? You had 2.5 years to prove his guilt. You couldn't do it. So give us a break.
It's actually sad. Let's wrap up this thing. I'm going to introduce the next topic, the NAWEC press conference. My friends at NAWEC, I've been vindicated by NAWEC, by the way.
Yeah.
I watched that press conference from start to finish. While I feel vindicated that everything I've been saying about NAWEC has checked out, I felt sad that we have been taken to this level of incompetence. NAWEC is telling us that they are doing this load shedding because they cannot get electricity supplied by the sub-regional suppliers. For me, that's
I wonder why.
It's bogus. What NAWEC should be telling us, Lamin, is that they owe Senelec X amount of dollars. They cannot pay, and Senelec has withdrawn some of the power supply that
It's coming to the Gambia.
that is coming into the Gambia, and for good reason. It doesn't make good business sense to keep piling up on a debt. Now, the information that is out there is that Senelec is supplying us 60 megawatts of power, and they have reduced it to 30 megawatts. Now, they're saying 75% of the electricity that we consume comes from external sources.
Is that not a shame?
75% of the power that we consume comes from external sources. So as a sovereign nation,
there's a damning indictment on any sovereign nation.
For a sovereign country to say, I depend on external sources for my electricity by 75%, it begs the question, where is your sovereignty? Where is your safety and security? Why would you allow yourself to be in this position? Why don't you actually work to make sure that you have alternative sources of energy, like renewable energy, clean energy, whatever you call it? Do what Senegal has done. Get rid of the heavy fuel engines and re-equip your generating power stations with gas-powered turbines.
Exactly.
They are not doing any of those things. And for me, Lamin, what is so stark about this NAWEC confession, because that's what it is that the same president who stood and said we have so much power that we decided to demobilize some of our machines and we are ready to help people to get more power. Meanwhile, because it's an election year, he's going all over the country and is lighting up villages that are not likely to have a stable, reliable, cheap supply of electricity.
Will they even have supply of electricity?
Yes. And that brings me back to what we kept saying for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And that is, in Mandinka, they say, "Nie lahido di mola, ikamoti mandi." When you make a promise, deliver on the promise. You should have limania, meaning you should have faith in what you do. You should be satisfied, waso. Lahido, limania, waso, tilingo, honesty, and intonya. Barrow has not kept any promise he has made to Gambians. And he thinks Gambians are so far behind in their thought processes that he could just go and light all these villages and people are just going to say, okay, he gave us electricity, let's vote him in. He had 10 years to do these things. Hasn't happened. It's the same thing he's doing with those agricultural implements. I actually had the opportunity to see some of them. These are equipment, they are equipment, when you look at them, they are equipment, but they are not the type that would last long in our environment.
So with the ambulances.
Yeah, but it's an election year. It's a year to make the promises. It's a year to forget about your unfulfilled promises. It's a year to make new promises that you know you are not going to keep. I'm going to end on NAWEC by saying we are in serious trouble, and it's going to get much worse than this as time goes on. The sooner we we retrofit our generating stations with gas turbines, the better for us. But more importantly, let's also harness the very hot burning sun that we have in terms of renewable energy. As far as I'm concerned, I'm through with NAWEC. Because everything I've been saying checks out. In spite of their denials, it has checked out. 60 megawatts to 30 megawatts, maybe even less. You are sourcing 75% of your energy from outside sources, a country depending entirely on external sources of energy. No competent government does that. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. As you said, we've been harping on this for 5 years now. And the situation doesn't get any better, it just simply gets worse. This is the government that from 2017 to 2024 received $447 million in the electricity, in the power sector. That should have got us at least 400 megawatts of power if we put it into generation capacity.
Yep.
But we didn't put it into generation capacity. God knows where that money went. And our generation capacity, instead of growing, is declining. Today they have the gumption to tell us that 75% of our energy is sourced from abroad.
They say sub-regional sources. And the sub-regional sources,
the
Senegal and Guinea.
Are where? It's from Senegal
and Guinea.
And from Guinea and the West Africa Power Pool.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be that way? We have a river here which alone can generate enough electricity, hydropower, to power the whole of this country and export some. We have enough sunshine, as you said, to generate more than we need. The Jaban solar power plant has a capacity of 30 megawatts. Today it's producing about 22, 23 megawatts instead of this 30. And that was conducted by Hussein Dabo. Why couldn't we get another 4 solar power stations
of that kind?
That kind, and build them all over the country. Put one in LRR, put one in URR, put one in CRR, and one in NBR. And the whole country is covered. And we decentralize the generation capacity. It doesn't all have to be in the Greater Banjul area. You can decentralize it, and what is not used in the rural areas can be fed into the Greater Banjul area. Solar alone is enough to produce enough power for us to serve this country and export. A serious government, a UDP government, would not only do that, but we would install solar panels on some of the buildings to make sure that they are self-sufficient in power supply.
Independent from the
and whatever they don't consume, they can sell to the grid. We have wind power. We can develop wind farms if we need to, but we don't need to. So we have all of that potential, but it's not happening. They're not investing in renewable energy because heavy fuel oil is a potential source of enormous corruption. So they don't want to invest in clean energy. They don't want to invest in transforming our turbines from heavy fuel oil to gas, which is cleaner, is cheaper. But the importation of heavy fuel oil is a potential source of enormous corruption. You see with Bassi here.
Yeah.
And when these people go as well and have commissions, we will see who's been benefiting from it. So nobody cares to bring in clean energy because the polluting generation we have is making some people filthy rich, potentially at least. We can't tell who is doing, but when the time comes when they go and the audits are done and the commissions are put in place, we'll see who's been milking us dry. So why do we have this situation? It's again the same thing. A very corrupt government, an uncaring government, a government that has no compassion, because NAWEC does have the technical skills. We have people of competence in there, but who are being let down by their own management. Why aren't we having this? We've been training engineers in NAWEC for years. We have enough engineers in there to do the work. Why is it not happening? Government policy. So we continue doing the same things over and over again, expecting something different. This is a sign of madness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's close by saying the NAWAC issue is another key indicator for the incompetence of this government.
And the corruption.
And the corruption that is around it, the procurement of heavy fuel. I want to close by, because next time we need to talk about this in the local languages. I want to close by saying that without electoral integrity, no democracy is safe. I'm saying, given all these things that are happening in the voters' registration, the voters' roll, and all of that, it all strikes at the heart of election integrity. Without election integrity, our democracy is not safe. And those who are pushing to register non-Gambians and underage people to vote are a direct threat to our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And no, I'm sure we have run out of time.
Long time ago, I just refused.
Okay. So probably these are such important topics that probably for the next Thursday when we might need to find time to come and do this in the local languages.
Yes.
So that at least what we said here this time round can be, because we always say we'll do it next week, but we get overtaken by events.
Yeah.
So much happening under this government, we never have time to come back and do these things. So maybe if we will talk to the management of Eco TV, if you can find time, maybe you come another day and do this in the local language, because I think these are extremely important points which need to be put across in the local languages. So that by the time we come next Thursday, I'm sure there'll be so many other new topics out there that we might not have time to go over them.
Yeah,
So,
we are supposed to do the SONA.
Yeah.
It's overridden by all
all
these issues.
Exactly.
So I agree, we'll do that.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. As usual, we are seeing new equipment in the studio. We are seeing works being done. Again, it's this very dynamic young technical team that is here with their leader, Usman. Thank you very much, guys. It's a job well done. But we walked in this morning, somebody had a huge mug of coffee. And is wrestling another person so I don't get to see who that is. And that individual shall remain nameless.
I think forget that name, yeah. But I just want to say, this is what private sector
can do.
An empowered private sector can do.
Mm.
Put in place an enabling environment.
Mm.
Get the youth to come in.
Yeah. They can do it.
Unbridled support. This is the sort of thing that they can do.
They can do it.
And this is what we have in the country. We have very competent, well-trained people here who are being kept in the closet by a government that thinks only of how to enrich itself. So we have to get rid of them on the 5th of December.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.